So then, plans are well underway now for a very special sculpture in the heart of Wokingham. This is a landmark project to create a sculpture that will stand the test of time right by the new Carnival Hub, if you know, sort of around that area. The winning sculpture design was created by this international award-winning British sculptor, Nicola Anthony. And Nicola, how did this idea of a sculpture for Wokingham actually come about?
I have to thank Arts for Wokingham, who's the commissioning body, who they did the call out for the artwork and they interviewed a lot of artists. They were very, very open about what they wanted, but definitely something which is inclusive, which engages people, which connects with the community, and that's very much up my street. So it meant that I was really passionate about applying. I came up with a good idea and it helped me to win the pitch. So that's why I'm here.
Describe your pitch to us then. You were the winner and the person selected. What is it that you're suggesting is going to be made?
Well, the sculpture is quite big. It's going to be about 6 meters tall.
Wow.
It's made of stainless steel. And it's always hard, isn't it, to describe artwork on radio, but I'll try my best.
Thank you. You did a good job so far. I can picture it so far.
Yeah. If you imagine, it's made of 3 arcs, so 3 kind of swoops of metal, almost like ribbons of steel metal that will go overhead, and they're designed to be almost like archways that you can walk in and out and underneath them. Okay. And they kind of interlock, so there's a lot of crossover going on.
Are they different sizes as well as they're sort of sweeping past interlocking?
They
or
are.
uniform?
So they're different sizes, and they twist and go at different angles as well. Oh, nice. Which is inspired a bit by DNA strands and organic shapes that almost spiraling. So if you imagine those arcs, they could continue under the ground and loop up again, and that's where the next arc begins. So there's a kind of imaginary half to it which goes underground, if that makes sense.
Yeah, lovely. And the sort of 3D mock-up that you've done, I've seen, I don't know, is it lettering or something on these arcs as well that I can see, or is it something else I'm looking at?
Absolutely, yeah, you're right. And it's hard to see that because it's a very zoomed out image. But what I do in my work is I do a lot of research with the community beforehand, and I basically get really nosy and I go and ask people their life stories, and I ask them, you know, their deepest, darkest fears as well as their passions, and you know, all of that stuff. And obviously at first we always end up talking about the weather, but we kind of get into a chat, and then you get to that really deep stuff, which, because I'm an artist, I think they really go for it and they reveal themselves to me, which is really, I'm honoured when that happens. And it gives me all this amazing content about basically what it's like to be a human being. For this artwork, it's what it's like to be a human being alive in Wokingham today. So it's gathering all of that info, and then that gets sort of edited together as a poem almost, and that's what I cut out of the sculpture.
This sounds so good. Of course, we have to be honest, that this doesn't come free. I mean, you're going to need money to make all this happen, I guess, and part of that is relying on local people to kind of dig deep if they can and help you bring this to life.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had some amazing founder sponsors so far. So we've had funding from the Wokingham Festival, from More Arts, the Art Society Wokingham, the Wokingham Society as well, and the Wokingham Town Council, amongst others. So they've kicked this project off, and I know that, to be fair, I'm the artist, so I do the sort of creative bit, and I don't normally do the pitch for money, but what I can do, I think, as the artist is explain to people what it means to be an art patron, because that's a super important thing, and it's what keeps the creative arts alive. And it's something where this project has got loads of outreach, so there's lots of workshops, there's lots going on after the sculpture is launched to kind of relink that back with the library, with local schools, to develop teaching plans around it, for example. So it's not just about sponsoring the artwork, but it's also about how that becomes part of Wokingham, how that kind of elevates the borough in terms of art and culture. And there's a big team. It's not just me, so I feel a bit guilty when we say, you know, the budget is 200,000. Unfortunately, that doesn't go straight in my pocket.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, and that's another important thing, because I don't think people normally see behind the scenes of making an artwork. But there's a team of engineers that I'm working with called 9940. There's a fabricator called Benson Sedgwick who are over in Dagenham. So there's lots of people involved, and they're all sort of British businesses, British creatives. So all that investment is actually going back into the economy and helping to support creative businesses as well.
Fascinating. I'm interested in you, Nicola. How did you get into this world of sculpting in the first place? Because I think this is something you've done all over the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I am based in the UK now, but I opened a studio in Singapore for about 7 years. Then I was in Ireland for a couple of years, and I've done work sort of internationally just because, well, it sort of challenges me really. And as you know, I love to find out people's stories. So the further you travel, the more exciting diversity of stories you get. So, I mean, how did I get into it? I've always been artistic, and I've had amazing parents who supported me to follow that passion. I've also had a lot of mentors and collaborators and kind people who helped me along the way. So, you know, no creative and no artist would be at this point without that support. So big kudos to them.
And like you say, doing this type of art, it's not when we say an artist, we instantly think of, somebody sitting at their easel in front of the canvas painting, and it is a solo personal activity. This is a type of art that is, by its nature, very, very collaborative. That must be quite a part of it that appeals to you, I imagine.
Yeah, it is, because as you rightly point out, it can be quite isolating, actually, being an artist, because you do spend time on your own. So I think it's, potentially you've hit the nail on the head there. Instead of talking to myself or telling my own story, I'm very, very interested in telling other people's stories, and through that, I think you get a bit more of a universal message and you can reach more people.
That's true. That is so true. Well, in a moment, we'll talk about where people can go to actually find out a little bit more, and if they do want to be generous and donate, where they can do that. But first of all, Nicola, it's just you and me talking here. Nobody else is listening. It's just you and me. Any chance, as a Wokingham lad, I live in Shimfield in Wokingham Borough, any chance I can convince you to replace all of this with just a giant stainless steel statue of me or something? I mean, would you accept a bribe or something? Or do you think there's any chance of that at all?
There might be a small chance. You'll have to talk to Arts for Wokingham. So I think if you'd like to sponsor the whole thing, they're very passionate about putting public art throughout the borough of Wokingham. So perhaps you should pitch that to them.
Oh, that would be great. If only I had £200,000. Well, it was worth a try.
Send me your picture. I'll do a sketch.
Yay!
We'll get it started.
You're on. Well, that is wonderful. And I think, am I right in thinking you just go to the arts4wokingham.com website? Is that right? arts4wokingham.com is the best place to go.
Yeah, that's it. And people can find out on there how to donate. People who donate more than £200 get their name recognised on the plaque. Wow. And in all the stuff around the artwork, the website and everything. And they can also find out how to submit their stories. So all these words I'm collecting, those are an ongoing piece of research, so people can actually get their life story into this sculpture still. So I'm very much looking forward to receiving all of your listeners' life stories to be part of this.
Go to arts4wokingham.com and find out more. Nicola, a privilege talking to you about this wonderful, wonderful thing that you're doing. I really hope it all comes together. I can't wait to see it in the flesh when it's there, this large, imposing, beautiful structure that you're going to be building for us in Wokingham. Really, really nice talking to you. Just finally, if people want to get in touch with you and find out what other wonderful things that you've done and you're up to, where's a good place to do that in terms of the socials?
Oh, thanks, Andy. Best place to find me is either on Instagram, and I'm at Nicola_Anthony, or my website is nicolaanthony.co.uk. So I'm always up for a chat, as you can guess from this conversation. So yeah, I do encourage people to just drop me a line.
We will do. Fabulous. And I'll send you that sketch of me for the statue very, very shortly, if that's all right.
Excellent. That gives me my next project then.
BBC Radio Berkshire Travel.